What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Twisted Life of TV. I am Poetry. You are here for a movie recap and summary. This is of the movie The Pickup on Amazon Prime, starring Eddie Murphy, Keke Palmer, Pete Davidson, and Eva Longoria. This movie came out on August 6th. I was highly anticipating the watch of it, so I did a watch party last night over in the Life of Lounge on Discord. Of course, I was the only one in the party. I mean, we had somebody come in, C.L. Dickerson. Shout out to you. You left kind of early, so I was the only one remaining in the party. And after watching the movie in its entirety, I kind of understood why you dipped out. I've been having like a rough summer, y'all. Y'all know this. So I was hoping that this movie was going to give me some laughter. I hope this movie was going to give me a good Keke. But the only Keke it gave me was Keke Palmer. And I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about her name. That's it. That's the only Keke I really got out of this movie. So this is going to have some spoilers. So if you are hoping to watch this without spoilers, this is the wrong video for you. So it's about a money heist. Y'all know how I love movies about money heists. I always put myself into it. I told y'all as a child, if I had to pick a career, being a money heister, if that's such a thing, is something that I would have done. So I was excited about this movie. I was excited to see Keke Palmer and Eddie Murphy work together. I don't believe that they ever worked together in a project before. I'm not really a big fan of Pete Davidson. I'm not a big fan of him. It's his comedy or in acting. So that didn't really give me anything. It didn't draw me to the film. I didn't even realize that Eva Longoria was in it until the credits start to roll in the movie. I like her as an actress, but she really was irrelevant to me in the whole scheme of things. She really wasn't relevant. And then everybody else in the cast was non-seasoned actors. If they are seasoned, I've never seen them in anything. I don't recall seeing them in anything. So I did like that because it was giving new breath to some new people to come out in the scene and, expose them to the community of film. But the movie itself wasn't giving me what I needed. It had a lot of potential. It had a storyline that could have went somewhere, but delivery was dry. The delivery was hella freaking dry. Now, I watched the interview with Eddie Murphy and Keke Palmer before. I want to say they were on Jennifer Hudson's show. And they were speaking about this one scene where Keke Palmer has to do this monologue. And it's a very serious monologue. And the way in which she performed it, they thought she just freaking nailed it. You know what I'm saying? Like she was acting her ass off on that scene. And I know exactly what scene it was. It's the scene that she was talking about her father. But I didn't draw up that same emotion. If it wasn't for the tears that welled up in her own eyes, I probably wouldn't have felt anything at all. The story itself, I didn't give a damn about it. It was a lot of disconnect in this movie for me. The background stories didn't seem like they mattered at all either, because you didn't see them play out. You didn't see any true connections other than them vocalizing it or why things were going the way that it went. So we start off with Pete Davidson. I don't even know the characters' names, child. What is the characters' names? Oh, Keke Palmer's name was Zora or something like that. Eddie Murphy's character was Dave. Have no idea what Pete Davidson's character was called. And he was like the main character for me. Eva Longoria, don't remember her name either. It's not that they're not memorable. The characters didn't make me love them, didn't make me want to see them thrive. But it had some great action scenes. I will say that. Sometimes I would say, well, they acted their asses off. I don't believe that. It was like they were tired. Pete Davidson was the only one that had energy. And he had energy because his character was supposed to be the comedic relief. But other than that, it was like lazy acting to me. Sometimes you can see the way that Eddie Murphy does interviews and he seems so nonchalant. That's exactly how this character was delivered. Same with Keke Palmer. Keke Palmer normally has a lot of energy. She's really bubbly. And I was like looking forward. I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen Keke Palmer in a comedy or portray comedy. And I still didn't. But even though I have seen her in dramas, I don't think that she was doing her best drama wise either. It was flat. Her whole energy throughout the whole film was flat through the whole. She looked good. She looked good. Eddie looked good. Pete looked like the same dirty dude that was dating when he was dating Kim Kardashian. Just dirty, like he needed a fucking bath all the doggone time. Eva, again, I don't know why she was in the movie, other than give Eddie Murphy a story, a side story. I don't know why she was in the movie. Um, so Pete Davidson, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say their names because I don't know what their character names are. Pete Davidson and Eddie Murphy, who is Dave. They were armored guards. Keke Palmer, at the beginning of this movie, they're inside of a bank, and she walks up on Pete Davidson, who's making a drop at the bank, or he's picking up the load. You know, they bring money, pick them up to the bank. Normally, when they do this, they walk in. It's usually more than one. There's somebody in the truck, mining the truck with the gun, you know, that as well. They didn't display that, okay? But he's inside, he's making that drop, and she approaches him. And, you know, he's kind of thrown off by her presence, her beauty, you know, things of that nature. He was like kind of starstruck. And it's the way that this whole thing went down, it was almost as if she knew her beauty was gonna, you know, spark his interest, okay? Which is far-fetched because beauty is, you know, in the eye of the beholder. But anywho, she asked him to read this note. And she held out this note, and he assumed automatically that she was holding up the bank. He went into full Rambo mode, pulled out his gun, you know, making the teller contact the police. It was just ridiculous how he overreacted. And her didn't move. Everybody in the bank dropping down, getting on the floor, and she's standing there still holding the note like, just read the note, dog. This dude got a gun pointed at your face. And she's like, just read the note, babe. Just read the note. You know, and when he finally calmed the fuck down after about 5 minutes of destroying the fucking bank and the whole atmosphere, he read that it was her phone number saying, call me. Now, based off his reaction, he should have known that something was wrong, because it's clear he don't get girls. It's very clear, just based off that reaction. So to have this girl, this beautiful little girl, standing there with this note saying, call me, da 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 da, he should have known something was up. Well, they hooked up and they went out on a date and they had a great time, and she sexed him up, down, left, this way, that way, all around, okay? And you know, he gets to work the next day and he like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I got some last night. He's the kind of dude that walks into the spot and like, hey, I got laid. She was fine. This, that, and other. Everybody cheering him on. Now, Eddie Murphy's character worked there as well. Like I said, they're both armored truck guards. And he's having a hard time with the boss. The boss is putting him on this new route, or on this route that's very far out. They got to do a lot of miles to cover this route. Now, he already don't want to do this because he woke up this morning and told his wife, which was Eva Longoria, they kept stressing they've been married for 25 years. They've been married for 25 years. I don't know what the point of that was, but they kept stressing they've been married for 25 years. And he had an anniversary dinner that he was going to plan with her. I don't know what the purpose of him taking her wedding ring, because he took her wedding ring. I don't know if he was going to get it refinished, get a new stone, you know, replace it. I don't know what it was. They never explained why he took her wedding ring. He took her wedding ring with him to work, and he promised that he was going to meet her at the first place they ever went on a date, and you know, just for her to be there. Bam. That's pretty much her whole interaction in the movie until later on. So once he gets to work and the boss has put him on this extended route, he's like, wait, hey, I got to be back and get to my anniversary dinner with my wife. They bring up the fact that he wants to run a little small business with his wife, and it's something they've been working on, and he just want to make sure that he makes her happy. He's going to tell her that he's ready to go into business with her, okay? So he gets assigned Pete Davidson as his mate to run these routes with. Now, normally, if just thinking about or looking at all the other characters in the show and all the other routes they was talking about, the people stay consistent. Okay, so for him to be put on this route that he normally isn't on with a guy he's never done a run with, that's gonna make people suspicious. But they're gonna do it anyway. They sit in the vehicle and argue with each other back and forth. They just to show us that Pete Davidson is nasty. His lunchbox is nasty. His food look like it's spoiled. He dirty as I don't know what. He's annoying. They took 5 to 7 minutes just to go through that. And even the doggone boss was like, why y'all still sitting here in my garage? Hit the freaking road, right? So they head on out. In the meantime, Keke Palmer meets up with these two guys. The two guys have their little back and forth. Of course, this is like typical in every freaking movie. There's a new guy brought to the scene and the old guy don't like him. And then they go back and forth and they're throwing shots at each other about how they can't stand each other or who got the bigger balls. That's pretty much what went on here as well. Okay, basically they're there to do a job with Keke Palmer. Okay, they don't really say what the job is, with the exception of where they have to go has a dead zone of about 70 minutes time frame. And within that time frame, that's when they're going to pull off this heist. Okay, Alex, again, I don't know how armored truck routes are, but they got to go pretty damn far because they have to do this 70-minute stretch of land after they make several drops. It's like almost like they're going like almost 200 something miles for the day in this armored truck, making multiple drops throughout the day. So they show us them making drops here and there. They show Keke Palmer and her team riding out on the road to head up to catch up with them in this dead zone. Now, before they get to this dead zone, Pete Davidson gets a phone call from the boss, and the boss is finally heard about what happened at the bank, and he fires Pete Davidson. Now, Pete Davidson is still in the truck, in the armored vehicle, when he gets fired. He's I don't know, about 100 something miles from his office when he gets fired. You didn't think to call him back to the office first? You're just going to tell him over the phone you're fired? And then Pete Davidson is arguing back and forth with the dispatcher or the boss or what have you. Eddie Murphy is arguing back with the boss or what have you, because they realize they're not going to make it back in time for him to get to his anniversary dinner. In the meantime, I don't know why Pete Davidson started slowing down. I don't remember, but he was pumping himself up to be like the best driver ever. He wants to go to the police academy. He can't pass the fucking test, but he can do the driving portion. So he wanted to prove to Eddie Murphy that he can get him back in time for his dinner. The speed limit is 60 miles an hour. He gonna bust 100. You gonna bust 100 in his armored vehicle all the way over 100 something miles and not get stopped by the regular police. Okay, fine. So they're going through this dead zone area. The dead zone area, there's no police interaction, no businesses, no cell phone signal. So this is where Keke Palmer roll up on them. Keke and I can't think of the one white guy's name. They're in the vehicle together, and the Mexican guy is in the other vehicle, and they rolling up. They are the worst at this. Keke is too calm. She literally, okay, we're gonna pull up on them now. All right, go up to the right. No, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That's not stick to plan. Come on, stick to plan. That's not what I want y'all to do. No, get on side of them. Get on side. Hold it steady. Hold it steady. Then she pops out the sunroof and she has signs, flashcards. Pull over. You're in the dead zone. There's no cell phones. Nothing else for you to do. You know, she's popping these cards out, and they noticed that the vehicle had rolled up on them. They were trying to figure out what's going on. Now, when the vehicle rolled up, they ain't been more trying to call nobody. Nothing. When they realize, or they think this, well, probably about 5 minutes into the chase, where the vehicles are circling around them and crashing into them and running them off the road, they say, oh shit, we should call somebody. So they call somebody, and they can't get through because why? They're in the fucking dead zone. They're in the dead zone. Okay. Well, because the people that's with Team Keke are off on their own plan, you know, they foil the what does they call it? Is that heist? Is that heist too? When they're trying to take the truck, They foiled that, okay? So Keke Palmer and them get knocked off the road, thrown off their game, and Pete Davidson and them get the ride away. Now, in the process, she had bombs, she had grenades, she had bow and arrows, she had electronic post things, whatever, everything to stick onto this doggone vehicle. And they got some arrows into the tire. So a little bit down the road, they realized that they got a flat and they got to pull off the road. So they decided to pull off all together to try to plug this tire back up. They plugged it up without no fix-a-flat. Nothing like that. And Keke Palmer and them rolling down the street trying to figure out where they went, right? So they see this one vehicle come down the road hoping to get a ride. And Pete Davidson like, oh, I'm white. I know they're going to stop. And there was some Mexicans inside. And the Mexicans didn't want to stop for them. And so they come out on the road. And then Keke Palmer say, oh, they must have pulled off the road because I don't see them anywhere. They couldn't have got far with that flat tire. Okay, so they go back down the road and they decided to go down here right in time for Eddie Murphy and Pete Davidson to plug the tire up again without no fixed flat, again without no air. And they decided to take off again. They taking off again. Now, you're not supposed to ride faster than 60 miles an hour with fixing flat either, but they finna try to burn out on him. And Eddie Murphy and them get in the vehicle. Now they got to play chicken because they're going to try to get back to the road. And so Keke Palmer and her other team try to block them off. And it didn't work because the armored truck just kept on driving straight. So we go on this long chase. Like I said, this is some very dramatic chases. All the tools and gadgets that Keke Palmer has in her reservoir, her repertoire. No, her armory. All these gadgets and stuff that they have to try to disable this truck. And it was going bad. Well, Pete Davidson said earlier, just give them the doggone money. Now, they not only carrying money, they carrying endangered species. They carrying all kind of stuff to make these drops. Now, the drop where they supposed to be going is to a casino. That's supposed to be, not a casino, they're supposed to be going to one more drop. That was supposed to be the very last drop. So why they got all these monkeys and all these other things in here? I don't know. Okay, so they get back on the road. Keke Palmer and them was able to whip back around and chase them some more. And so Eddie Murphy get the bright idea to go ahead and throw the money. So now they just like, making it rain. It's millions of dollars falling all over the road. Now, the people that's chasing them, Keke Palmer and team, ain't stopping for the money. So that should be clear to y'all, they don't want the money. You throwing $60 million all over the highway. 60 million. And they not stopping for that money. They don't want the money, y'all, right? But Eddie Murphy continuously throw money. He has some that has dye packs on it. He throws these dye packs and the dye packs automatically explode. I didn't think it worked that way. I thought you had to actually literally open up the dye packs in order for them to erupt in your face or what have you. But he's taking the time to throw dye packs, and once they land, then they explode. When he throwing these dye packs, that threw off Keke Palmer's team. They crashing, they flipping over, this, that, and the third. Okay, so the plan B was for Keke Palmer to get her butt on the armored truck. Somewhere through all the chaos where they flipping vehicles and burning, throwing money, throwing fire and all this stuff, she gets onto the vehicle and gets inside. She holds up the truck. And now they got to do her bidding. So she talks to them. I think she takes them to breakfast or something like that and sits them down and say, look here, all I need for y'all is to help me out because I done lost my team. I done kidnapped y'all, done stole y'all truck, but I need to finish the job, so I need somebody to go in here with me. I wasn't trying to steal the money. I wanted the doggone truck. She wanted the truck so she could break into this casino. The casino normally throws out, I want to say the same amount of money, 60 million. No. On the armored truck, she kept saying 60 million, but only 300,000 was on that truck. The 60 million was actually in the casino. So they agreed to go help her rob the casino against their will. But Pete Davidson's character was really into it because he slept with her one night and he was in love. He had a thing for Miss Zora. And she seemed to kind of like him a little bit. At first, they was keeping the fact that she's the one that slept with Pete Davidson, and he done told all his information to her in the midst of them sleeping together. They skimmed over that so fast. Hell, Eddie Murphy was like angry for like maybe 10 seconds, maybe. Okay, weird. Just freaking weird. So they agreed to do the job. So they decided to take the doggone armor truck over to Marshawn Lynch. He had a little shop, chopped it up, repainted the stuff, put some new numbers on it, put an RFID code on it so it can match the other armor trucks. And they get over to the casino 15 minutes early. You know, they have a little tension, a little standoff about whether or not they the right people, asking where the original people was at. The original people was coming 15 minutes later. So they had 15 minutes to get in here and get this money. Okay, so while we going through this, that's when the little monologue happened, where Keke Palmer says why she's doing it. She wants to pay back the people who hurt her daddy. He used to be a security guard there. Something happened where the security team got trapped, and they were going to get trapped behind a door. So he rushed in and go save some lives and hold the door open. But in the process, he got left behind and he ended up dying. And they didn't want to pay out the pension because they said if he had never left his post, he wouldn't be dead. Okay, sound like my freaking job. So that happened when she was 12 years old. But she had said she'd been planning this heist for 2 years. That happened when she was 12. She like 30 now. And she only been planning the heist for 2 years. She wasn't planning since she was 12. 2 years ago, she came up with this bright idea to get these people back. And she'd been working on this idea of following these routes and getting these trucks and yada yada this, yada yada that. It was amazing that she just automatically knew that Pete Davidson was going to be hooked up with Eddie Murphy. Pete didn't even know what route he was on. Eddie didn't even know what route he was on. But she knew that these two was going to be the people that she was going to be able to maneuver to help her out. Okay. Then we got a phone call from Eddie Murphy's wife. So she's coming back into the scene, and she want to know. He telling her, "Look, I ain't gonna make it to the dinner because I got added a new stop on the route." And she was like, yeah, right, okay, right." So they out at Marshawn Lynch spot, I believe it is, because Eddie got himself free, and they caught him again. I forgot how they caught him again. It don't even fucking matter because it was just the movie wasn't good. But they back at Marshawn Lynch spot, and up come his wife. She busted up to the armor truck. They try to make her the typical spicy Latina, and she come up to the armor truck and she like, they added another spot for you. Why you back in New Jersey? Now she got the app on the phone. That's how she was able to find him. So you should have seen that he was already out of New Jersey and came back. And just because he came back doesn't mean it wasn't a new spot added, especially since they was going to the casino and that ain't his regular route. But anywho, that was the whole big to do. So she climbs up in the truck, in the armor truck. A secure vehicle with thousands of millions of dollars in endangered species, and she just walk her monkey ass on up in that truck with no problem. Again, they don't have anybody man in the back. And I know that they do that. But anywho, she walks up in the truck and now she's captured too. So she got to go do this big heist. They get over there to this doggone casino. The casino people, she put them to the dock. They opened the doors once they got in. But they didn't look inside. They didn't bother to look inside to see that Pete Davidson, Eva Longoria was tied up. They didn't bother to look inside. They was able to get in. When they got in, Roman Virgo, who was actually, I think he was boxing or something at this particular time, but he was down there doing a photo shoot on top of the $60 million. I thought it was against the law for you to use real money in the Photoshop in the video. Something commercial like that. But okay, he was doing a photo shoot. Had about 50 motherfuckers down there with him, sitting on top of the money, jewels blinged out. And Keke Palmer tricked him into going upstairs and get away from the money because she said the other person, his opponent, was talking shit about him. So they was able to get him out the way. They got the money loaded up. They got it back in the truck. And as they were leaving out, the other truck that was supposed to be there in the first place was coming in. But they was able to get out the gate in time. And then they get over to where Keke Palmer had stashed some cars for her and her team to get away. But remember, she don't have a team no more. Well, they didn't die, even though their vehicles flipped over. And since they didn't die, and she abandoned them, now they want to kill her. Her team. Now they against her because they said she played them. Okay, so she goes over to the spot where she got the cars waiting, and they're there. Trying to take her out and take out Eddie Murphy and Pete Davidson and Eva Longoria and all them. Trying to take them all out because they like, oh, so now you're with your new team. A big fight, a big shootout happened. Back and forth. You know, um, in the end, Eddie Murphy, Pete Davidson, and Eva Longoria survived it. Keke Palmer got away with the money. The other guys, whatever. They end up getting a award or some shit like that for solving the heist or what have you. They didn't get in trouble. Eddie Murphy quit his job. Him and his wife opened up a bread and breakfast. I guess it was a sweet little dream that they had all along. I don't remember what the fuck happened to Pete Davidson. I really don't. But Keke Palmer ended up on the beach in Bali. She called Pete Davidson. That's what she did. She called him like, "Hey boo, you miss me." And then she sent Eddie Murphy and part of the money. And Pete Davidson quit because he was still working for the armor truck company. He quit and went to Bali with Keke. That's the movie. I know I skipped some stuff, but it don't even matter because the movie wasn't good. Wasn't funny. I didn't laugh at all. That's it, child. Would I recommend you watch it if you just want something to do on a late night and you just want to see Eddie Murphy and them in a movie? Then you don't watch it. But I'm not gonna recommend it to anybody. But the concept of the movie, like it could have had potential. It could have had, but no. Yeah. All right, child. That's it. Peace.